Hello and welcome to our webinar, An Introduction to Marketing with me, Georgina Shaw. Today we're going to be looking at what the different marketing options are and how you can make them work for you. So I'm really excited that you've joined us today. My name is Georgina Shaw, as I said. I'm the Marketing Director and founder of Shaw Marketing Services, and we're based in the Costa del Sol in Spain. I'm an online and offline marketer. I've been working in the industry for over 10 years now, and I've really found that there's a lack of understanding about what is marketing and what does it involve. So we've created this webinar to really explore that, look at the different marketing methods and how you can use them to work for you. At the end of this, I want you to be able to really have a full understanding of what those key marketing methods are, how they work, and how they can really work together for the best results. We've designed this as a beginner's guide. It's really working for new and small businesses who they know they need to market but they don't really know where to start, to give them a really good view of how things work and what they can be using to good effect. It's also really useful though for people who are working in-house and perhaps managing an agency or using an agency for their marketing. These agencies should be the experts, of course, but without the right knowledge of the methods that are out there for you, it can be very difficult to really manage them effectively. So this is going to be good for you as well. And finally, it can also be very helpful for trainee marketers who are looking to start a career in marketing but don't really understand how it works and the key principles. And so this is a chance for you to get a quick introduction to marketing, how they all work, and so when you're going out for your jobs you feel confident in your knowledge. So I want you to start thinking, what do you think of when people talk about marketing? Is it just advertising or is there more to it? How many marketing methods do you think there are? And how do you think you can use marketing to help you succeed? Hopefully throughout this webinar it's all going to become clear, and by the end of it you're going to have a really good understanding and inspiration to start getting out there and marketing yourself. So what you're going to be learning is what the different marketing options are, what they mean, how you can use them successfully, and where you can go wrong to avoid those pitfalls. You might be thinking that you know this already. If you are an experienced marketer already, please stay with us. You might end up learning some things that you didn't already know, or perhaps you'll be able to put the pieces in together, put the pieces of the puzzle together to really understand how they can work for you. I'm going to be offering some good advice from my years of experience and also trying to help you to avoid the pitfalls. So let's get started. If you were thinking about how many marketing methods there are actually 5 key marketing methods. And I'm not going to be mentioning here social media and online side, but these key marketing methods that you're going to be thinking about. The first one is advertising, and it's probably the best known, and we're going to move on to public relations, sales promotion, direct marketing, and personal selling. And I'm going to be looking at each one in turn and how they work together. Now, how to use these is really up to you. There are these 5 methods. They can all be used, just some of them can be used. You can have one which is really in the lead and a few supporting. That's really up to you. But the key really, I think, is to understand what your options are so that then you can make the right decision of the balance of tools that you can use to really work for you. So we're going to start with advertising. Let's talk what it is and how it works. I think that advertising is really the most well-known form of promotion, and it's also the most widely used and the most obvious. The definition used by the Advertising Association is that they're messages paid for by those who send them, intended to inform or influence people. I think that's pretty clear really, and what it brings out are the key points, which is that it's paid for, and anybody who's used advertising before will know that it does cost money. It's an expensive form to promote yourself, but the good thing is it's highly controlled. You choose where to appear, exactly when, and what message. So it's the most controllable and high profile way of promoting yourself. Now, it's important because you can promote your brand, your product or service in a controlled way to a large audience. So it gives you a lot of scope. You can have different messages, you can have different special offers, you can change your message on a regular basis, but you're reminding people of who you are and what you do. The key that I think to effective advertising is encouraging people to act. There are obviously many reasons why you may advertise, and it might just be to make people think a bit differently about your particular cause. But as a business, really what you want to do is you want somebody to buy or contact you or get involved with you in some way. So that encouraging to act is really, really clear and key. But you're also reinforcing your message by regular promotion and regular advertising. Now, there are a few things that you can really get wrong with advertising. The one that I hear most regularly is that advertising doesn't work. Now, that for me can't be the case because so many people do it. If it didn't work, they wouldn't continue to do that. Where I think the people mean there is that they're failing to get a good return on their investment. And the reason for that is genuinely they haven't got a strong call to action. They're not actually telling people what they want to do. And what they're actually looking at is they're looking at brand awareness. They're saying, hello, we're here. While that will be difficult to get a good return on your investment, especially if you're in expensive national publications. So really be clear about your call to action and make sure that whatever advertising that you do drives people to do something for you. The other thing that can really go wrong is you don't know what's working. If you choose a variety of media to be in, what's working, what isn't, why, and why not. Now, there's this fantastic quote that I like from John Wanamaker that says, I know that half of my advertising doesn't work. The problem is I don't know which half. Now that happens to a lot of us, and that there is always a sense of that within the advertising in general. However, the thing to look at, if I could go back one slide here, is looking at how you can actually trace it. So you can use codes, special offers, coupons, dedicated email addresses, and actually look at, when you put an ad in across a few different media, what really works for you and what doesn't. Then you can make a really informed decision of how you use your media effectively. Now, when I say here about different email addresses, that's a really simple way of doing it. That you could have 5 different email addresses to the 5 different media that you're using, and so each email that comes in, even if they don't tell you who or why they're contacting you, you know yourself that it's coming from that specific media, and that's a really easy way of tracing what's working and what isn't, and then allowing you to work and move forward, cut out what isn't working and use what is. So my top tips, just to summarize from how you can make advertising really work for you: be clear on what you're trying to achieve. Don't try to be too clever or subtle and simply brand something. We can see that in the big brands such as Guinness, for example, which really doesn't show that much about it because it's got a brand reputation and a huge market share and market knowledge. It doesn't need to be direct, but most of us who don't have that strong brand image really need to be clear about our message, get it out there, and have a strong call to action to make that work for you. You want to drive customers through the door, so every advertising message should engage them and offer them a clear call to action in order to make that happen. So moving on from the hard sell, commercial, to the soft sell of public relations. Public relations is defined as the planned and sustained effort to establish and maintain goodwill and mutual understanding between an organisation and its publics. Now, unfortunately, that's not quite as clear as the advertising definition. And the main reason for that is that public relations is not so clear and easy to define. But the key point is really you want to promote a positive image of your company to the world and to your publics. Now, the reason why it's really important is it's all about positivity, and it's giving a message out there which isn't just buy. It's We're great. We offer something that makes a difference to the world. We do good. We're part of your community. Like us, love us, take us into your heart. Now, the benefits of that is it's a lower cost method because it's not direct. You're not saying, I'm going to pay for this page in this publication, but I'm going to actually do something a bit more subtle. So it's lower cost. However, you can't control your message and you can't guarantee when and where something will come out about you. But the main goal is raising awareness of your brand, of your values, of what you stand for, and getting that out there. And that's a really good supporting method to advertising because it rounds it off, it softens it, and it gives a good impression of people. So let me give you an example of some of the public relations activities to try to make this a bit more concrete. One of the main ways that people, not the main, but a major way that people do it is to do events. Now, events are a great way to raise awareness, but they're also a brilliant way to directly bring people through your door. So you may do an opening event, for example, and let the world know about you. It's not all about getting sales on that day, but it's about bringing people in contact with you and your brand. Another way is press releases for the local press. Now, that's one way that is really strong in media relations, and you're creating articles, you're creating news stories that you want to be published in your local media with news and information, which is not just simply selling your product or service. Another way is relating to existing customers, trying to make them feel great about you and encouraging repeat purchase. One of those ways is newsletters. Another one could be sales calls. It could be happy birthday messages. It could be just generally engaging with them to wish them a happy anniversary or congratulate them on the birth of their child. It's something that just really engages on a non-commercial way, but has ultimately a sales objective. Another way is networking, meeting new contacts, offering support, just getting out there and being a part of the community. Another way is by offering your support to a charity initiative or sponsoring something which brings you your brand associated with something which is doing good. And finally, an element of PR that's often neglected is internal public relations, engaging your staff, rewarding your staff, making them feel so great about you and your company, they become your advocates and they go out there and they spread the word for you better than you could. Now, PR for the media is one of the main ways that we often are asked to do PR for our clients. And what you're looking to do is you're looking to create news or articles to get out there and be published free of charge in the media. Now, in order to do that, you need to convince your gatekeepers, who in this case are your reporters or your editors or producers, this is something interesting for your readers or for your listeners or for your viewers. It's news, it's information, it's helpful. So what you need to be thinking about is when you think, oh yeah, I'd like to use PR because I don't want to advertise because I can't afford it. It cannot be the same message as you would be putting in there. So you need to think to yourself, is something new? Is it unusual? Is it interesting? Can it add value? So an example here in the picture is a low incidence of eye tests for children. This is a survey that was conducted by Specsavers, issuing the results which says this is really worrying because kids need it for the good of their eyes and also the good of their education. And this is a good example of really positive PR, which doesn't sell, but it does position that company as the experts and gets out a big message that you would normally have to pay over €500 for that space, but you get it for free because you're sharing information that's interesting. Now, if you're a bit confused about is it marketing or advertising or is it PR, then this list can be really helpful for you. You need to be looking at the two columns. So marketing, you could think about being advertisements or direct mail, but something which is clearly sales driven. PR, on the other hand, you're looking at editorial content. So a story, a news piece, an article. Now, marketing and advertising is very commercial. That's its purpose, and there's no problem with that at all. Whereas PR absolutely isn't and needs to be newsworthy. So you can see with on advertising or leaflets or posters, you're looking at sales or offers or something really tangible and commercial. Whereas on the PR side, it's free publicity, so it can't be overtly commercial, but it will enhance your reputation. The marketing side is building the brand. You know when you're going to go in there, exactly what shape and size your ad's going to be, the date that it's published. On the free side, you just don't know. No one may find your story interesting at all, and it won't get published, or it might get published everywhere, but not for several months because people don't have space for it. Marketing is involved with bigger budgets, whereas PR, you could say, gets a bigger bang for your buck. Now, from my point of view, I think these two, advertising and PR, really, really work hand in hand. My advice for my clients would always be do some advertising, support your media, get that controlled message, and then support that with PR that really rounds out what you're all about. It supports it, and you can often get PR secured because you've got advertising in that publication. Now, what can go wrong with PR? Unfortunately, quite a lot can go wrong with PR because, as I said before, you don't get that control. So the media coverage could be negative. So you might put out there that you have a new store opening, for example, and the newspaper picks up that story, but where they put it in is part of the fact that international chains are coming in and not creating employment for local people, for example. So you can get inadvertently pulled into a story that you had no intention of, and it can be negative. On the other hand, nothing at all could get published. So you have high hopes of the story and nothing goes out at all because it just doesn't appeal to that media at all. Another thing that can go wrong is your brand can get lost because really it's the story that's interesting or the event that's exciting, and people walk away from the event or they finish reading the article and they just don't have in their mind who you are and what you do. If it's an event, it can become expensive and you actually don't see the return on your investment for it because it's expensive and the results aren't so tangible. And then it's very, very, very difficult to monitor in the way that I was explaining before, that you should be doing coupons or codes or tracking. PR just doesn't have the facilities for those kind of things. You can of course drive people to the websites or ask them to do something, but it's much, much more difficult to track, and it gives a feeling and a brand value above and beyond a direct commercial result. However, companies that do PR well see in the long term really good sales results. So my top tips for getting PR right would be: don't try to be overtly commercial. There's no point. It won't be picked up by the media, or if it is, the response to the public won't be the same because they'll be cynical about the message you're trying to put out there. Try to be friendly with the local media and send them interesting and relevant news. Think about all your publics. Who are they? Who do you want to influence? How can you speak to them? Don't just think about the people that read your local newspaper. Publics are internal, external, they're all over the place. Ensure that each activity that you do really has an objective that you're clear about. So although I've said that it's difficult to monitor and it's difficult to track, that is true, but as long as you know that there's a clear objective to having that event, for example, or writing that news story, then you will get something back. And try to use some data capture so that above and beyond the brand building, you actually are enriching your database, or for example, you're getting Facebook likes. And then be creative and have fun, but don't lose sight of your corporate identity. Let's move on to the next tip, which is sales promotion. So sales promotion is a great activity that you will see all around you, but you may not have thought to use for your own brand. And what it is, this is the definition from the Institute of Sales Promotion. It's a range of tactical marketing techniques designed within a strategic framework to add value to a product or service in order to achieve specific sales and marketing objectives. It's complicated, but you see the picture there, buy one get one free. We all know about that. It's a short-term, specific activity that really boosts sales and can work really well. Now, I thought that this quote from Philip Kotler really gave a good background to why is it different from advertising. So he says here that advertising offers a reason to buy, whereas sales promotion offers an incentive to buy. And I think that's really good because it's all talking about the incentivization of why to go out there now and do it. This is a short-term promotion with something very specific in mind. Now, if you look at this sales promotion in action here, there are 3 different ways that you can be applying it: the consumer, the trade, and the sales force. So what we'll all be more familiar with on a day-to-day basis is the consumer. So you're looking at these buy one get one free, as I mentioned before, or a free trial or a sample, where you're trying to get people engaged with your brand and using it or buying it. Trade is a little bit different because you're trying to incentivize your dealerships or your wholesalers or your the people that are selling it on to your customers. So that might be where your supermarket, for example, that's stocking your goods. And so you can be incentivizing them with contests, with free goods, with better advertising, with better promotion, with better display units, for example, just to really get them to be pushing it forward on your behalf in a different way. And then finally, you've got your promotion to your internal sales force, which might be contests or incentives or rallies or bonuses that really get them fired up and out there for you, selling in the right way. Now, the key elements of sales promotion, which I think are really interesting, is firstly, it can encourage trial. So it's difficult to get people to start using a product. And ways to do that in a really easy way is samples. So you can have special gifts, free gifts, or for example, a sample of a new product sold with an existing product to give the confidence but to encourage use. It can also have a special price, or it can have a combination of all of those, but to really get people to trial your product. The next thing is customer redemption. So this is something that normally would come from the purchase of one product. You might have then a coupon or a special offer on future products. So you're looking for them to come back to your product or service to get that special offer or that reward. And then it's brand switching. So I think this is key, that if somebody already buys a particular mayonnaise, for example, Hellmann's has a huge customer loyalty base, but you're launching something new into the market. By offering the right kind of sales promotion, either on price or on something exciting or something different, you can get someone to try to switch to your brand, at least in that one jar that they might say, okay, I'm not going to try Hellmann's this time, I'm going to try the new brand, by doing gifts or free trials or discounted prices. Now, sales promotions do have some pitfalls, and you need to make sure that you do it right. The key thing to say is that you need to set clear and measurable objectives for your sales promotion. And remember, these are short-term promotions. You do not want to undervalue your brand by it being a brand that's always on special offer or always has something. You should have your price point, that is your key point that you've decided within your market research that that's correct for your company and your products. But you can have special offers and special times to do it. But it always needs to have an objective. So those objectives can be various. One very good reason to have it would be to clear stock at the end of a season, for example, or if you've bought something which hasn't sold as well as you thought, and you've got storage costs that you want to eradicate. That's a really clear, good objective. Another one might be like I said before, getting people to switch to your brand. Try it first, and then you feel confident they'll stay with you. But when you're thinking about price reductions, particularly, always think about your margin and try to make sure that you don't end up pricing it wrong just for a quick sale to get rid of stock. And then when you actually look at it, you realise that, God forbid, you've actually lost money on that sales promotion because you haven't done that in the correct way. And then you've got to try to be thinking about what your realistic end results are. So one of the things people think about is that from the brand switching point of view is, oh brilliant, once they've had one jar of my mayonnaise, they'll never go back to Hellmann's. But I'm afraid to say that those brands have done such a lot of work with you over the years that you do have a lot of brand loyalty. And if you've been pulled across for price, for example, then those people will just switch from brands each time they buy for whatever's cheapest on the shelf. So don't expect too much from your sales promotions. I would say always make sure that there's a data capture element if you can. So if people are doing a coupon or a special offer, try to see if they can enter a contest or a draw to get them in. So whilst you're obviously shifting stock or you're getting people to be new customers, you're also capturing their data for future promotions. And then same with the PR, be creative and have fun to make your promotion really stand out from the rest. Because as you know, there's so many sales promotions out there that you really need to make sure yours is something special. So now moving on to direct marketing. What is direct marketing? I love direct marketing, and I would say that all marketing should be direct because you need a call to action. But what is it? It's defined by the Direct Marketing Association as the advertising process by which a company communicates directly with a customer or prospect in order to stimulate an action, usually by mail, telephone, coupon advert, or leaflet. So the key there is the direct contact and the direct result, the action that you want people to take. So it's really important because it's eliciting a response from your target market and it's trying to be targeted and effective. So maybe you want them to fill a form in, register, buy a product, you want them to do something. It's a really smart form of marketing and it's targeted as well, which really helps. Now, there are a couple of problems with it. One is that it can be expensive. So if you think about direct mail, for example, if you want to hit a really big quantity of people, you need to think about the costs of leaflet printing, envelope printing, stuffing of the envelopes, not to mention the actual cost of mailing that itself. So it can be expensive. And also it can be difficult to get the right data. Lists go out of date, particularly on the Costa del Sol. It's really, really difficult to keep your data up to date. And are you really sure that it's going to the right people? There's a lot of trust involved with who you're buying your list from. But basically, overall, you're gonna get your potential customer to act. That's a really real goal. The key elements of it that you really need to understand of every single way that you direct market, and we'll look at those in a moment, is everything needs to be targeted. So from a point of view, for example, of the direct mail that you see the picture of there, it needs to go to specific people in a postcode, for example, or in the geographical area that you know people would visit your store from. Or it could be something which is targeted to the age or the financial spending power or something like that, but it really needs to be targeted. Then you need an element of control and testing. So you need to be sure that it's reaching the people that you want to be sending it to, and then you need to be sure that it's getting the right result. So we would always suggest our clients to be using A/B testing, for example, so sending 2 different leaflets out to a similar profile of people and then making sure that you've chosen the right one that really is more effective. That can be testing with price, it can be offer, it can be even design, but you really need to be testing to make sure that everything is as best as it can be. And then continuity, making sure that the messaging is on theme, is regular, people don't only receive one direct marketing ever in their life from you, but they receive several touches, because sometimes the first one is not enough, but maybe the third will elicit the response that you want. Now, there are three main ways that you normally see direct marketing happening. One is by email, and this can either be to your database that you've developed over the years, or it can be to another database via, for example, a media's newsletter or a blog's newsletter, for example, and you can be part of that in order to reach your targeted group that you want to speak to. It can be by post, by letter, so you might think of a postcard, for example, to cut down on the costs, or a sales letter with a leaflet within a small envelope, or even a brochure, for example. Going to a specific list of people, either done by geography, if you only have a small target market, or by specific age, sex, spending power, preferences, lifestyles, etc. Or finally, you've got direct advertising, which a lot of people don't think about as a form of direct marketing, and that tends to be something which is really strong call to action. So it's a coupon, it's a limited time only special offer, it's a competition, etc. Something that really gets people on board with your message and makes people want to be part of what you're doing. My opinion is all marketing for small businesses should have a direct marketing element to them, so that you're targeting as much as you can, you're trying to elicit an action each time, and you're trying to generate results. Moving on to the next technique, and the final technique that we're going to discuss today, and that is personal selling. Now, personal selling is probably the oldest form of marketing, and it's the physical, face-to-face or telephone marketing, one-on-one, where you're really trying to communicate and persuade somebody to buy your product. It's a nice definition here of a two-way flow of communication between a buyer and a seller, often in a face-to-face encounter, designed to influence a person's or a group's purchase decision. And this is highly effective, and for small to medium-sized companies, I would think it's pretty hard to avoid, actually. And particularly if the business owner themselves is good at selling, it's a good way to start with, to be direct and targeted and get out there and speak to people and start selling with a low investment. Now, I think that although most of us will do personal selling, I would say a lot of people are doing it wrong. So I think we should really try to learn from the salesman and look at where they really feel they get the best results. So I think that this chart is really interesting, because they're looking at the different sales points to lead to the most customer value. So that's not simply making the sale, but it's making people feel good about the sale, become repeat clients, and become advocates of yours. So it starts with identifying solutions to customer problems, and really any good product will do that, but with a personal sales technique, it's identifying what that need is and matching your product or service with that in a creative way. So then you need to ease the customer buying process to limit potential problems, either being how they physically buy the product, information that they need to receive, reassurance perhaps, meetings, whatever you feel that you need to do to basically just ease the way for them to buy that product or service from you. And then finally, making sure you do follow up after the sale is made to make sure there's satisfaction, there's support, any issues are ironed out, and that really gives a fantastic customer value. Now, these things then have very many different stages that I think most small business owners who are involved in personal selling may end up neglecting. And neglecting any of these stages can really be detrimental to getting the result that you want. So again, I'm taking this from a sales course here, and I think it's a good way for us to understand how to effectively make this work. So step one is prospecting, and prospecting is finding the people that you want to contact. Now that could be buying a list, it could be just researching, it could be taking your trade publication and making a list of all the customers, it could be going door to door and making a list. Basically, you're just getting together your ideal list of customers and getting that data there ready to go. Then you have a pre-approach stage normally, and this is something which is not always used, but you can find, for example, a sales letter being sold. This could be your first approach that starts to get people familiar with your brand. Then you need an approach. So let's say you're following up on the letter, you're calling up, or you're going in to meet with the right person. And then you need to aim to get a presentation opportunity. So whether that is physically pitching in front of a board, or whether it's taking your products in to get them to touch and feel, or even just having a coffee and going through what you can do. You need that presentation stage to put your points across and really sell yourself. Then you need the close. And the close, I think, is a notoriously hard part, when you're presenting yourself and you want to inform, but how do you actually get them to buy? How do you convince them? So that's the close. And then finally you have the follow-up, and that may be if they didn't actually purchase that first time, you may need to go back with a follow-up in order to then re-pitch, represent, for example, and get the close. Or it could be that they made the sale, but you need to follow up and really join the sides of the circle and complete that experience for them. I think there are many stages where it can go wrong that some of we've mentioned before. First one is the failure to identify the right targets for you to approach. So if you don't do your prospecting correctly, you could be selling and selling and selling, or trying to sell to a whole load of people that really aren't your target market. Second thing I think is really can go wrong very easily is doing the hard sell, and I think that some people find that easier than others. But if you can be overtly commercial, try to imagine how that might feel to people. Try to identify the signs that they're not comfortable with that style of selling, and pull back and go to a different mode. Then you can fail to give the right information at the right times. So that may be that simply you don't have enough information in your sales materials or in your brochures to really get them to understand what it is that you want to do. Or it could be that you then don't follow up with the right information at the right time to just get them over that hurdle that they think, I don't know what I want to do now, how do I do it? And also then that can be not returning somebody's emails or calls to give them that information that they need. Then, as I mentioned before, the closing is very important, and there are many techniques on how to close, and I would certainly recommend you looking into those if you do find that personal selling is a big part of what you do. I've had a client before turn around to me and say, "You didn't close me then. Come back to me again now in this meeting and tell me why I need to go for you," kind of thing. And that was a stark remembrance that it's not all about just giving information. Actually, you need to start closing people up that first meeting so that you can avoid repeating the meeting if you need to, or you can limit the time that you spend and really get the results from every contact that you have with that person. And finally then, a lack of follow-up. So you may have done the presentation, submitted your proposal, but then you don't bother to follow up with a call or go and visit them and get the information that you need to then close properly. Or on the other hand, you just don't follow up after the sale, that way you could get a repeat business, but you may be missing that. So those are the 5 main marketing methods, and you can see, I hope, from the different aspects of them, that although they are all have the ultimate aim of generating business, they function in a very different way. So you can imagine that They fill gaps and they bolt on together to really create a very, very strong structure of promotion. Now, we really believe that multiple methods increase the power of each individual one. They make up for each other's weaknesses, they also support each other, and they make every single one more powerful. So we would always recommend, you don't have to use them all, but by combining a few of the elements in the right way, you will really see improved results. So what I would say in summary is these top tips. Understand these 5 marketing methods. I hope that you have a much better view now of what those are, and then choose the right mix for your company. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try a few of them together in a different way, mix them around and see what happens. But always have a clear objective and a clear brand across all the methods that you use. Take the time to plan, to allocate the amount of budget that it needs to get the right results. We never recommend that you just stick one ad in and then say, oh, that didn't work, I give up. There's many different ways that you can do it. If you have a limited budget, you can be smart with that budget, but there are things that you need to spend money on with marketing. Focus on the customer action. What do you want them to do and why? And try to make sure that although you're using these different methods that have different things, they all lead to a similar objective and a call to action. Make your brand strong and consistent, and really monitor the results. What are you doing? How is it working? What are you spending on what, and what is the return of that? And really try and work out your ROI in the right way. Then you will be able to say, actually, these things are working and these things aren't. If I couple these two together, that's better than coupling 4, for example. Every business is different, but as long as you're monitoring it and you're doing it in a smart way, you will get the results. So, an action plan for you guys to go away with and actually use. First, define your marketing objectives. That is just so key, and I'm so surprised by how few people actually do that in the right way. Think about making your objectives SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. So really make it very, very specific. Make a plan which uses multiple methods in a smart way to support each other. And go ahead and be brave and start marketing to increase sales. Thank you so much for listening and your attention. I know you're all very busy, so I hope that you feel that the last 40 minutes of your time has been well worth using. We know that this is just a taster, a starting point for you. So we've produced some free guides looking at more in depth into the different marketing methods. So we'd like you to do something for us in order to receive those guides. Please feedback on Twitter, linking to this webinar, and we have our hashtag there and our Twitter handle, and we will provide you with the marketing guide so you can learn more and really get more involved with which marketing methods are right for you. If you need any help, we are here to help, whether you'd like a Skype consultation or you'd actually need us to actually take some marketing forward for you. We really pride ourselves on using good quality and good value marketing and PR services. And we also do lots of information that you can learn more, so please check out our blog regularly for marketing advice and information. We have we have coming up on the 4th of November our next marketing training course, which will take the information that you've learned here to the next level by applying it to a proper marketing plan so that you can walk away and really, really have a firm, clear plan which you can apply and really get the right levels of success. And that's on the 4th of November. Any more information, we're here to help. Our website is suremarketingservices.com and our email is info@suremarketingservices. Please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks so much for getting in touch, and I look forward to hearing from you.